Got some breaking hockey news as we get set to start the Stanley Cup final. News that the Penguins are hiring Dan Muse as their new head coach. He replaces Mike Sullivan, who was let go after 10 seasons in Pittsburgh and then quickly scooped up as head coach of the Rangers. Muse, 42 years old, spent the past couple of seasons as an assistant with the Rangers. He has coaching experience with the Nashville Predators and with Team USA Hockey. We have Pierre McGuire here with us, former NHL head coach and front office executive. You were surprised by this news. Why?
I was. Well, first of all, Dan deserves a lot of credit. Getting your first NHL head job, Chris, is always a ton of fun. But to me, the biggest thing is there were big names out there. And with Kyle Dubas running the Pittsburgh Penguins, I thought they'd go down the Ontario Hockey League route and hire somebody like DJ Smith or potentially another guy with major junior experience, Mitch Love, who's an assistant with the Washington Capitals. They chose to go with Dan Muse. So Dan's real NHL experience working with Peter Laviolette in Nashville and obviously working with the New York Rangers just recently again with Peter Laviolette. So I find this to be an interesting hire for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Dan's a real numbers guy, analytics guy, and I think that's more up Kyle Dubas' alley, the way he runs his teams, along with Jason Spezza in Pittsburgh. So I find this to be an intriguing hire.
Quite an organization that you're very well versed in, winning a Stanley Cup there as an assistant coach in the early 90s. You know, you've had a run of great success with one of the greatest players ever. What kind of a job is that right now, though?
It's a good job as long as they can contain and keep Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Christopher Letang playing at a high level. If Crosby ever decides that, you know, I want to go in a different direction, I'm not saying he's going to do that, but if he ever does, that changes the dynamic of the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're going to say they're retooling right now, Chris. I'm going to say they're rebuilding right now. And their American League team in Wilkes-Barre lost in the first round this year. They have a lot of prospects down there. Their NHL team for the third straight year did not make the Stanley Cup playoffs. They haven't won a playoff round since 2017. So there's some rebuilding that has to go on there. But the one good piece of news for Dan Muse, I think they want him to grow with the brand that is the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I find that to be a positive for him going into that.
Can you rebuild with older key cogs that you mentioned? Like, how do you rebuild a team when you have Sidney Crosby and those other aging players on the team?
I love that question because it's not a question that gets asked a lot, Chris. So I think it's really important to answer it. You can, because the attitude of those players that I talked about, Letang in particular, Malkin and Crosby, they have impeccable work habits. And because they have that, they're coachable. And because they're coachable, they're going to buy into whatever the new coach is presenting. That matters a lot. If you guys have guys that are going to be malcontents and guys that don't want to be part of the solution, but they're part of the problem, then you have a problem as a coach. So I think, quite frankly, this is actually a really good thing for Dan Muse. I know Sidney Crosby's character, and I know him as a person really well. He's unimpeachable. He is, without a doubt, one of the greatest leaders that's ever played in the National Hockey League.
All right, and he's going to be coached by Dan Muse, the new head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins after a 10-year regime for Mike Sullivan, who's now with the New York Rangers. As we look at the NHL coaching carousel, one vacancy right now, and it is in Boston.